I've got some great questions and comments today. The main one is about Max Furloin's episode on Monday. Thanks for joining us today on Questions and Answers with James Townsend and Son. So we've been getting so many questions and wonderful comments that our question and answer videos are just getting way too long. And the topics are so good that I want to make it much more easy for people to find videos on their specific topic. So what we're going to experiment with here is breaking these Q&A videos up into smaller bits. And so we'll have many more of them. So instead of just on Thursday, there's probably going to be a Friday one, and maybe you'll see them on Tuesday and Wednesday too. So keep watching out for these Q&A videos as they become a little bit shorter, but more often. Our first question is from a longtime commenter, Dr. Jill SM. And she's writing on the preserving strawberries video. She says, yummy recipe, but I tried to use these in a tart and they came out soupy. I've looked at the recipe, looked for a recipe that would thicken the sauce so the tart would cut into pieces instead of scooping it out with a spoon. I did use cornstarch in one batch and it worked, but she didn't think cornstarch was 18th century, which I think is right. She says, I used flour as a thickener and it altered the flavor of the tart to make it a bit on the doughy side. Are there any insights on having this wonderful recipe work in a tart? If you're having trouble with the tart setting up, the first thing that they would likely have done in especially England and some in North America would be to use currants, the Ribes currants, like the red and the black ones, not the ones that are Zante currants, which are just little raisins. But those, the red and the black currants are very full of pectin, and they will help gel your tart. And Kevin's suggestion also was rice flour instead of wheat flour. The rice flour will give you a much more neutral taste, and that's another common ingredient that you would find in 18th century cooking. Here's Chris H200, Haphazard Homestead, and he's commenting on the Max Furloin interview that we did on Monday. And he's got some great comments here. He says, some key things that I got out of Max's message. Number one, don't worry about being accurate when you first start. Just start and get to know what really interests you. Number two, some things don't require money. His cordage, baskets, dyes, fish hooks, and sewing needles were all used materials that didn't cost him any money, or at least very much. So, found materials. Number three, give yourself time to develop rather than to think you have to have all your equipment right at the start. And then number four, reenactors sure appreciate the effort, the learning, and the insight of other reenactors. And he says, great interview. Well, I really thank Max for coming in and giving us the time for that interview. It was great to talk with a young person and kind of get what he's done. If you haven't seen Max's video, make sure I'll put a link down in the description so you can go back and watch that interview. It's really insightful. So his number one takeaway, don't worry about being accurate. Just get started to find out what you really like. A lot of times you'll get started in a field and you really will get interested in a specific topic, and that will lead you down a trail. So you really do, at some point, just kind of get started. Get interacting, even if you go to events as a regular person, as a member of the public, and then kind of pinpoint what you think you would really like to do before you jump in, with really big investments. You can make fairly small investments, get started, get out there, have fun, find some friends, and then build your reenacting around that. It's a better way to start. Yeah, number two, he says you don't need it doesn't require a lot of money to get started. Some of the things you have available to you right away. And sometimes you can do some very simple things with, found clothes that you can adapt to what you need to do just to get started. That's another one of those things. It's like there are some ways to get started without having a huge investment. almost any of them, even the military things. One of the biggest investments you have is a gun or something similar. You don't need a gun to get started. There's so many different kinds of reenacting things you can do without a gun. So, don't worry about that. Even, if you want to do a soldier and you think you need a $500 regimental coat, you can usually get started in those units with a much less expensive piece. So there's many ways to get started very inexpensively, and we'll hope to cover some of those very shortly for you. We got some of those episodes in the works. And number 3, give yourself time to develop rather than to have all the equipment right off the start. It's such a great thought there. You really don't have to have it all to get started. Just a few things and you can get started reenacting, so you can really get involved and know where you want to go. I want to thank Haphazard Homestead for writing all this out, giving us a well thought out comment. These comments are really helpful for us to know what people are thinking, to give us an idea about where to go with our content, what people are interested in. I want to thank him and everyone out there for your wonderful comments, your great on point questions that really help us understand exactly what people need more information on. That is so helpful. Keep those comments coming. If you've got a comment or a question, make sure to give it down in the comments below. And I want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this video. Thank you all out there so much. If you're a new viewer and you haven't subscribed, press the subscribe button up here. That'll take you to a spot where you can subscribe. That really is the best way to get notification of all the new videos that are out. I want to thank everyone for watching.